So I've got the turbine under cover. This is the one that we dragged out the weeds, and I've got to jack that up onto a block. Then we can start taking that generator side apart. I do know that all the bolts, even if they've got nylocks on the nuts, will have some form of thread locker on there. So we're going to have to put some work into getting some of them undone, warming them up and whatnot. But before we do that, I'd like to just cover a few bits and pieces that I've observed with the springs that came off of this unit, with those improved spring mounting blocks or brackets. Anyway, so we'll go and have a look at that first, but just whilst we're here, just turning through 90 degrees. There we are. It's just ticking away gently, but I'm going to have to climb up there and undo that steel cable, because we don't want the steel cable to be left outside for the next year and a half. But I'll do that when somebody else is around, just in case of things that begin with P, like plummet. Anyway, let's have a look at these other springs. So here we are in the workshop, and this is the other set of springs. So we took one set apart, and there are two more sets here. So let's zoom in and I'll show you what I've observed. There's a bit of wear there, but if you notice, there's a nylon washer there. It's missing that side. So if we turn this over, you can see that that's been wearing against that. So was that washer ever fitted? Now I know these were fitted retrospectively, so did a contractor come along and, oh, I can't get that one in there, oh, to hell with it, doesn't matter, yeah, or did they just simply forget? Because, you know, 10 years later, who fitted this? Nobody knows. There's no comeback or anything. If you look at the other end of this, and it's got all the washers on it, there seems to be no wear. Forget the fact that things are bent because they've hit the ground, but there's no wear there. Okay, now on this one, again, the washer's missing, and that has been rubbing against there. Turn it round and the washer's there. The only thing that is the same between these two is it's the blade end where the washer is missing. Now if we have a look at these two, again, long bolt, it's the blade end where that washer was missing and the wear has started. So is there some design fault there? Were these made so actually on site you couldn't get both washers in place? Don't know. Anyway, if you've got a Proven, a 2.5 Proven, I would strongly recommend that you check out these spring mountings. And with this modified block type, then it's the blade end, whereas with the ones we had, the stainless steel ones, the one that went was the wind shaft end. Anyway, that's the observations. Hopefully they'll be useful to somebody. When you wind your 2.5 Proven down, just check this out, because it's you know, it's a disaster waiting to happen. Be interesting in the feedback to see whether if somebody drops their proven, whether they still got washers both sides on the blade end. Anyway, we'll carry on. I want to now get that generator cover off and we'll start inspecting that. So we've got that blocked up like that, and that is really the heavy end. When you're dealing with this thing, you can tell where the weight is. So we'll just wipe off all that mud and whatnot, and then have a look and remove that strap there, which is a giant Jubilee type clamp. So just undo the, and this is all stainless, which is great, so it's coming undone very easily. There we go, and that thready bit's just started to come out. I noticed when I sent my turbine back to the factory, it came back with that bit missing. Ah! It's as I feared. Some of the magnets are broken. Actually, it's not the magnets, it's the, let's zoom in. So, we've got bits of the encapsulation of the coils which are broken off. It might not be a problem, but those bolts there that hold the stator in place are obviously encapsulated within this, so you can't see them. That's sort of interesting but difficult. And just down there I can just see the coils. Let's see if I can get to that. Focus. So there you go, there's the coils. Camera's flashing at me saying that the card's nearly full. So there you see the windings. Now this is a 24 volt model, so you'd expect those windings to be fairly thick. It's 3-phase, let's just work it out. It's 3-phase and it's 2.5 kilowatt. So 2.5 kilowatt at 24 volts would be 40 amps to the kilowatt. So 2.5 kilowatt will be 100 amps. And you divide that by 3 because there are 3 phases. That's about 33 amps per set of coils. Anyway, that encapsulation, obviously it's hit the ground, we know that, but at the moment there doesn't seem to be any damage to this generator beyond that. But let's just turn the camera sideways and we've got something interesting to see. You see that gap there between the rotor and the stator? It's huge. So obviously the wind shaft has been knocked this way. That's far too big. So the whole thing has moved. So it may be that the magnet plate this side has contacted the coils, but maybe there won't be any damage. So this is one of the magnet plates, the outer one, and there's the nut in the middle. Now I do know these have been Loctited in, but we shall see. Going to get a big spanner on that, and I've got to lock the whole wind shaft some way to undo it, and it should undo in the same direction as the blades spin. So let's give that a go. So I've got a set of Stilsons there. Hopefully that'll grip the wind shaft. That wind shaft's toast anyway, because as I've said before, the mounting plate is welded onto it and it's had a good smack, so it's bound to be bent. And that's 24mm. So let's just give it a bit of a well, something's happening. Feels like it's undoing. That's good news. I mean, this is like a circular saw blade. On a circular saw, the nut that holds the blade on undoes in the direction of rotation, so therefore it can never come undone. If it does move or catches on anything, it will always tighten up. Right, you don't want to see the rest of that. Right, it looks like it had some form of thread locker on it. And that's got a thread locker or some bearing fit or something on there. So how on earth are we going to get that off there? It'll all need warming up for certain. You notice it's not all the way on the shaft, so I'm hoping, and it feels like behind there are some shims. So I suspect we're going to have to put that bolt back in there without the washer, make up some sort of puller and warm that right up. Right, let's have a go. Right, I've drilled a countersink and a central bore into there. That'll take the middle of the puller and it won't go spinning off. So the thing to do now is put the puller on, warm the boss up. That's this boss here. And see what happens. So I've put some grease in the recess there. This is all set up. Bit of grease on the threads of the puller. Where's my socket set gone? I think we can probably do with a bigger socket. What size is that? 19mm. I'll just go and get a 1/2 inch socket. Right, let's try that. No, I don't think so. Try a bit more. You see a bit of that thread locker or something like that bearing fit. You see it peel off. Well, the gap seems to be getting bigger. But it's taking quite a lot of force. And things are starting to bend. And there is a keyway there. I don't know if there's a key in it or not. That's cold. That's quite warm. Just starting to crank over slightly, and we don't want that. Right, so we've got a three-legged puller here. It's seen a bit of action in its time, but I don't want to break it. So let's just see. Looks like some of the magnets have come off the magnet plate. Well, I spent a further 10 minutes heating this boss up because I figured the only thing that was holding it was the bearing fit. And as you can see, I got it mighty warm. Not glowing, because this whole area would lose too much heat. I'd need oxy on this to, and I don't want to get it that hot. So we're going now, we're moving. It's pretty, I'm going to move my foot out of the way. It's pretty industrial, heavy duty. I don't know whether that bearing fit is on this shaft is over the top or what. But you can imagine that a company doesn't want one of these to come loose. So put bearing fit on it. And how many times is one of these going to be taken off? Without coming to the end of the threads of the puller. Yeah, that's loose. Now I don't know how heavy that thing is. So let's get everything out of the way. Let's move the camera. Couple of blocks underneath. That looks nasty there. There we go. Eight pole. Oh wow. 07, 24 volt. I don't think the coils are actually damaged, but it's probably lost some of the lacquer or the varnish, because some bits have gone white. Let's zoom in. Can you see that white there? I imagine that is tarnish. But there are the coils. That's been smacked there. It's bent. It might be repairable, but I don't think so. Not the amount of effort you have to go to put one of these in. So it's junk. Having said that, if you're out in the middle of nowhere and it's your only option, then it's totally different. January 07.